The year 2019 has been an epic year for PC gamers. On the hardware side, Team Red is turning the tables on Team Blue for the first time in over a decade, and VR is somehow not dead yet. Meanwhile, on the software side, Microsoft Office 2019 is absolutely f***ing mind-blowing on a scale not seen since Microsoft Office 2016. No, my is only tangentially important. My name is actually not important. Tangentially important being my aunt's name on my father's side. For the purposes of today's YouTube entertainment, I have thusly judged this topic to be the most important. Number 10. Apex Legends. Despite a title that sounds like one of those arcade races that tries to get you to compete online, and a behind-the-scenes backstory that basically amounts to an EA boardroom decision to jump on the Battle Royale bandwagon using one of their least tarnished IPs as a framework, Apex Legends somehow went on to be a breakout success in 2019. Taking the gaming press by surprise on its launch in February, Respawn's Apex Legends offers players a different flavour of Battle Royale set in the familiar universe of their Titanfall games. This free-to-play shooter adopts an exclusively first-person perspective, only allows for 3-member teams who launch towards the ground as a unit rather than being allowed to drop at will, and features character selections that work like the classes in a hero shooter. These contrasts from the established formulae of genre staples like Fortnite, PUBG and totally accurate Battlegrounds, what? It's a classic. Are enough to give Apex Legends its own distinct feel that apparently appeals to both audiences and critics. Many publications gave special mention to the ping system of non-verbal communication, with PC Gamer calling it a quiet revolution. Although I'm not planning on a fans list for the 2019 content, as short-term scores seem to be heavily affected by review bombing, the game's 7 million strong Twitch following is testimony to its popularity with gamers. And for once, critics, whose opinions are apparently often out of step with those of gamers, are in general agreement. Their average score on Metacritic is a mighty 88. Number 9. Asgard's Wrath. VR games on PC are still a pretty hard sell. For the most part, VR's system requirements are beyond the reach of your average PC built on a young person's budget, and most gamers with $600 to spare are more likely thinking of their next graphics card purchase than a decidedly specialist peripheral that, in the eyes of many, is still seeking its killer app. That, at least in the hopes of little-known developer Sanzaru, is where Asgard's Wrath comes in. In what is possibly the first fully fleshed-out fantasy RPG designed for VR, Asgard's Wrath puts you in the sweaty headgear of a neophyte god of animals in the very much in vogue Norse pantheon, being shown the ropes by everyone's favourite mythical trickster Loki. As you take in the fantastically detailed world, you're given the opportunity to play either in your godly form, directly manipulating the environment in order to solve puzzles, or to possess the bodies of select mortals. In the latter mode, gameplay is in the same vein of RPGs like the Elder Scrolls series. You explore, follow quests, engage in both ranged and melee combat, and use animal companions to achieve your goals. Despite some criticism of a lack of gameplay depth and minor quality control issues with AI and collision detection, critical reception for Asgard's Wrath has been generally excellent, and is the leading contender for the title of Best VR Game, at least until Half-Life Alyx comes out. Number 8. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Soulsborne, the genre that was born primarily from the works of Studio From Software, the team that brought you stress-induced headaches, broken controllers, and potential Stockholm Syndrome. 2019's Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, updates the classic third-person fight, dodge, die, repeat formula with a new setting of feudal Japan. Pared down somewhat from the Dark Souls games, without the familiar RPG elements of character creation, loot grinding or leveling, you play as a badass katana-wielding one-armed shinobi named Wolf. Oh wait, that's not badass enough for you yet. Okay, how about a badass one-armed samurai with a magical prosthetic arm, granting you a range of tactical accessories such as grappling hook, shield or axe? Wait, I'm not done. Death itself can't hold Wolf down. If he dies in combat, he gets right up, dusts himself off, and fights to the death for a second time. How's that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Of course, this is still a FromSoft game, so your metaphorical shadows will be dying a lot more than twice. If you didn't enjoy Bloodborne or its spiritual predecessors, Sekiro probably still won't be your cup of sake. However, it seems the reviewer community are a bunch of sadists, and they gave Sekiro an aggregate score of 88. Honourable mention, Unity of Command 2. Oops. So, since I originally started writing this script, real-time strategy game Unity of Command 2 was released for the PC, and at the time of writing has garnered an impressive 89, averaged over 7 professional reviews, placing it effectively at number 8 in this list, which would push Sekiro to 9, Asgard's Wrath to 10, and would completely push Apex Legends out of the top 10 altogether. I kinda made the executive decision not to rewrite the list, as I think ignoring Apex Legends would probably be something of a disservice to what has been a pretty seismic game in the Battle Royale genre. However, given that the RTS is such an underserved genre with its roots firmly on the PC platform, I thought I'd give Unity of Command 2 an honourable mention instead. Unity of Command 2 is a turn-based wargame set in the Second World War. The game features a new 3D engine and user interface that, according to PC Gamer, makes it one to unreservedly recommend over its predecessor. Number 7. Slay the Spire. After almost 2 years in early access, Megacrit's turn-based deck-building roguelike mashup was finally released in its ultimate form in early 2019. Now, I'm not gonna lie here, these are two gaming genres that make me go, nope, I'm out. I'm just gonna try my best to understand the game as it's described by others and spew it back to you and just hope it makes sense. Slay the Spire starts you off with one of 3 playable characters, each a variation of standard RPG class tropes: a warrior, a rogue, and a mage. Your quest, as the name suggests, is to fight your way up a spire room by room, building your card deck as you go. You'll be challenged as you progress by your average trash mobs, with periodical appearances by tougher elites and bosses, using the cards you've collected throughout the game so far to test out different builds, be they more offensive or defensive. Failure means death, and death means being resurrected at the very beginning of the spire by a 3-eyed spectral whale in order to try again. You know, standard. Reviewers overlook the rather basic art style and lack of story, and promote Slay the Spire as an example of one of the very best in its genres. Praise in particular comes for the tight, uncluttered deck-building mechanic that encourages players not to hoard unnecessary cards, satisfying combo-based combat, and variety of content. Slay the Spire earned a Metacritic score of 89. I'm probably still going to give it a miss. Number 6. Devil May Cry 5. The latest iteration of the Devil May Cry series was released to near universal acclaim in March, returning to the series' original timeline after spin-off/reboot DMC's poor reception with fans. To say the first main series game in 11 years was eagerly anticipated would be an understatement, and thankfully Capcom seems to have delivered both for fans and for critics. To experienced DMC players, there's a lot to recognise here. The series' signature combo-based fighting system returns, with added complexities brought by the varying playstyles of the 3 main playable protagonists: Dante from the original trilogy, Nero from DMC4, and the mysterious V. The game looks superb, with visceral detail and effects exploding with every impact, making combat supremely satisfying. Like previous games, the combat makes you feel like an absolute beast, rewarding you with style points for smashing demons with increasingly over-the-top combo attacks. The story is, well, a little bit disorienting, especially to newcomers. Thankfully, there's an intro video to bring people up to speed with the story so far, in case you haven't played in a while or skipped the first 4 games entirely, but its non-linear structure won't be to everyone's liking. Critical reactions were universally positive, garnering an average score of 89. Guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know with a deft click of the like button. If you want to hear more from me in the future, why not subscribe and click the notification bell too? My channel's still growing and hopefully I'm getting better at this, and your support makes it all worthwhile. Number 5. Resident Evil 2. In the gaming world, there are no words that arouse more powerful emotions than remake. It conjures up both joy and trepidation, as for every Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy and Shadow of the Colossus, there's a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. Thankfully, for those of us old farts who remember the original PlayStation games, Capcom's remake of Resident Evil 2 falls into the former camp. RE2 Remake was released some 21 years after the original game, and rather than attempting to simply polish up the original assets, Capcom started from scratch while borrowing liberally from the series' history. Gone are the awkward fixed camera angles, slow room transitions, and campy voice acting. Instead, the player controls protagonists Leon and Claire from an over-the-shoulder perspective similar to the fondly remembered RE4, recontextualizing many of the original game's moments and forcing developers to find new ways to build tension. The new engine developed for RE7 is brought in, providing the game with state-of-the-art gore effects and impressive lighting and detail. Also, no doubt to some fans' disappointment, all of the major characters in the game are voiced by actual actors with training and stuff. Resident Evil 2 has found a home on the PC thanks to the modding community, without whom we'd never have seen such indelible sights as the game's indestructible antagonist Mr. X, replaced by Thomas the Tank Engine. Game developers of tomorrow, we salute you. Reviewers have been effervescent with praise for Resident Evil 2, calling it a shining example of what a remake should be. Resident Evil 2 joins DMC5 and Slay the Spire with a rating of 89. Number 4. Tetris Effect. So at this point I'd normally take a moment to explain what a game is, what the gameplay elements are and so forth. I can't help but feel in this context, however, that taking time to explain Tetris might be a touch patronising. Tetris Effect, named for a real-world phenomenon of the timeless puzzle classic leaking into real life, fuses two extremely retro concepts: Game Boy-based puzzle game Tetris and the demo scene. In the early days of home computers, budding amateur graphic artists and musicians worked together to create digital art called demos, which for the most part simply acted as demonstrations of what could be achieved with the hardware available at the time. In researching this piece, I was surprised to find out that the demo scene is actually still going and has regular parties and meetups primarily in Europe. Tetris Effect plays very much like a 1990s demo scene project, with impressive displays of artwork and interactive soundscapes that shift and evolve throughout a level, delivering what some have called a transcendent experience. In terms of gameplay, Tetris Effect evolves the basic Tetris concept without deviating far from the formula. There are several different categories, each offering gameplay with different goals. Relax is for gamers who want to Tetris and chill, Focus is intended to energize players, and Adventurous is for people who are up for a challenge. Of course, if this is all a bit too non-conformist for you, there's the classic mode. Tetris Effect isn't going to be for everyone, and even for Tetris fans like myself, it might not be something you'd actually want to play on a monitor, but critics found it praiseworthy. Metacritic's aggregate score for Tetris Effect stands at 90. Number 3. Disco Elysium. Taking home the Not Important award for Best Title of the Year, Disco Elysium rocked up late in 2019 to universal critical buzz and positive player reviews, bringing us the classic isometric RPG we didn't know we needed in our lives. Applying Dungeons & Dragons rule sets to non-fantasy stories may not be completely original, but it's a rare enough sight in contemporary gaming that it sets Disco Elysium apart from the pack. You play a nameless detective recovering from a hangover. What type of detective you're going to be is up to you, with an effective class selection taking place in the form of your investigative style. You can choose from the Sherlock Holmes style intelligent, the more empathetic sensitive, or the thuggish bruiser. Waking up in your apartment, you start to piece together your own backstory through clues and observations, and even conversations with fragments of your own mind. Once you venture outside, you'll find yourself in a grim, poverty-stricken world of Revachol, replete with rich atmosphere, involving quests, and well-written dialogue. The core of the story is a murder you've been tasked to solve, but as is so often the case in a great modern RPG, there's as much meat in the side quests as the main one. The game's graphics and sound design are excellent, while not quite reaching AAA level. Some minor graphical glitches and some less polished moments of voice acting only slightly mar this otherwise superb role-playing game, earning it joint third place on the podium with a score of 90. Number 2. Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. Final Fantasy XIV has not had an easy ride. If you'd told reviewers in 2010 that it would still be being played in 2019, and be reviewed as the second best game of that year, reviewers would probably have assumed that 2019 was going to be a really slow year. After a disastrous initial launch, developers Square Enix went back to the drawing board before releasing a completely reworked version known as A Realm Reborn in 2013. Since then, the game has gone from strength to strength, with the latest expansion, Shadowbringers, being the most critically well-received chapter to date. 14 is Square Enix's latest massively multiplayer RPG entry in the now ridiculously misnamed Final Fantasy series, and over the previous expansions, the amount of content has already racked up to hundreds of hours. Shadowbringers adds an extra 50 plus hours of story. This time, players journey to an alternate dimension in order to save their own. The intriguing central conceit in this dimension is that light is infecting and destroying the world, and that only darkness can defeat it. In traditional Final Fantasy style, Shadowbringers continues to blend traditional high fantasy elements into anime storylines and aesthetics. While the engine is starting perhaps to show its age, the new expansion still has high production values across the board, and while it's no Final Fantasy 15 in the graphics department, it still makes most other games in its genre look shabby by comparison. Not many MMOs enjoyed this level of developer support over half a decade on. Reviewers have waxed lyrical about Shadowbringers, its gameplay improvements, sprawling story and social commentary, while finding some flaws in class balancing and a lack of post-storyline content. All in, the critical community have rated Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers 91%, making it the second best PC game of 2019. Number 1. Red Dead Redemption 2. You'd be forgiven for thinking that Rockstar just don't like PC audiences. I mean, they want to cater to us, they really do. They take their time over their ports from the console originals, adding features that the PC audience lap up, like labyrinthine graphical options allowing you to tinker to your heart's content, as well as the now expected mod compatibility, but they never launch smoothly. Enter 2019's port of last year's epic horse opera, Red Dead Redemption 2. As Rockstar actually never got round to releasing the original RDR on a PC platform, the hype for this release was substantial. The console release won Game of the Year awards from dozens of publications and features in, well, most of my PS4 and Xbox One top 10 videos so far, both for sales and review scores. So as real as the expectations were, so was the disappointment, when early adopters experienced crashes, failed starts and poor performance. This might be what we used to expect from console ports, but not now, surely. Not after all this time. Sorry, not meaning to rag on RDR2, it is after all the critics' #1 PC game of the year, but I can't completely forgive Rockstar for this lackluster launch. I was truly disappointed. Not to end on a low note, however, if you have a beast of a PC and are looking to flex a bit, RDR2 has some of the most stunning visuals in a video game so far, boasting higher resolution textures, more realistic lighting, greater draw distances, and the potential for higher frame rates than even its 8.5 gen console brethren. Like GTA 5 before it, the modding community is doubtless already hard at work on graphics conversions to bring even the most overpowered system to its knees, and if you're eager to stress your PC right now, check out the Marty McFly ray tracing mod in Reshade, as demonstrated in videos by Digital Dreams, link below, but be prepared to absolutely melt your graphics card. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC is a story both of triumph and disappointment. Reviewers on the whole have downplayed the technical issues that have plagued the game in the weeks since its release, giving it a massive 93 Metacritic score. Fan rating on the same site, however, tells a different story. Currently it stands at 4.4 out of 10. Perhaps, after a bunch of patches and updates, viewers in 2020 and beyond will wonder what all the fuss was about. However, now, in 2019, RDR2 remains a highly contentious, divisive, best game of the year. And that's my list. What did you guys think? What did the critics get wrong? Let me know down below. While you're down there, kindly do the usual YouTube things if you feel so inclined, and I'll see you next time.